Can you imagine a library where the books are all fake? No, seriously, in Tianjin City, China, there's a library that costs millions to build, designed by a famous international architect. You walk in and boom, walls covered in books, except only the bottom few rows are real. Everything else, decorative, fake. They spend millions just so you could take a selfie and post it on Instagram or other social media. Is this the ultimate white elephant project? Those massive constructions built to impress and to make you go wow, but serve absolutely no practical purpose. And in recent years, people have been amazed that there are many this type of white elephant mega projects in China to show off its prowess and power. Hold your judgment. Today, I'm taking you inside this viral library to see if this library is just a flashy photo op or if there's actually something more going on. At the end of the video, we'll also check out the latest developments in other countries. Like in the US, the proposed Washington, D.C. Triumphal Arch or Triumphal Arch being debated. By the way, this video episode is about mega project, but there's no pun intended. I'm not going to discuss mega project. It seems these large-scale government projects all a bit similar, so do stay tuned till the end and leave your comments. October 2025. My artist friend Hong Wei and I arrived at Tianjin's Binhai new area by the seaside. This library had been blowing up on social media, hailed as China's most beautiful library, drawing crowds of people desperate to check in. But once you arrived at the place, things start getting weird. First, you have to cross a massive square, the standard accessory for any Chinese mega structure. At least a 10-minute walk. I'm pretty sure this is designed to burn off any remaining desire to read by the time you reach the library. Then you climb a huge flight of stairs because apparently knowledge is power, and you need to build up some physical strength and power before you are allowed near any books. And you walk. Finally, you arrived at the gate to the library. There are cheerful songs that drive you nuts, so that you really want to escape into the library for an acoustic shelter. But wait, before entering, you need to pass through strict X-ray security, tighter than many airport security. But here is the thing, when you leave the library, no checks like this at all. This one-way logic still baffles me. What exactly are they guarding against? So they're sure someone would not steal the fake books? The moment I walked in, I understood why this place is called a viral photo spot. The central atrium is massive, tiered platforms cascading from floor to ceiling. Visually stunning, no question. But look closer at those book walls. Only the bottom few rows contain real books. Everything above, printed panels designed to look like book spines. Decoration. No wonder the atmosphere feels more like how do I put it, an indoor playground. Or maybe a giant selfie studio dressed up in a library costume. Kids are climbing up and down the stairs, practicing public speaking for a politician career, or simply screaming at the top of their lungs to be a soprano singer. There are stairs designed for hiking with two-way footpath traffic directions. What's unforgettable, and I say this with all due respect, is this lady. Look at her posing for photos. At first glance, she seems to be imitating Greek philosopher Archimedes moving the earth. Then she looks more like Sisyphus from Greek mythology pushing the boulder uphill. And finally, she was like embracing the sun, perhaps as a tribute to the Polish astronomer Copernicus, who invented the heliocentric theory with the sun as the center of the universe. Or maybe she's just a contemporary globalist, trying to embrace the whole earth. Everyone was performing like a professional model at a TikTok influencer training camp. The only problem, this is a library, not a photography studio. From its appearance, the building is genuinely impressive. A massive spherical auditorium, like a ball or like a globe, sits in the center like a giant eye, watching you from inside the whole structure. The design was supposedly inspired by a seashell since this building is close to the sea. Layers upon layers with a pearl nestled inside, symbolizing this Binhai new area as the pearl of the whole region. Sounds romantic, right? Well, the romance kind of depends on you not actually needing to read anything here. A library has been reduced to a photo backdrop. Isn't this the definition of a white elephant project? Spent all that money to build a glorified photo studio. But wait, something not right. Just as I was about to slap the Vanity Project label on this place, something unexpected happened. I pushed through the crowded atrium and found the actual book collections from first floor up to the fifth floor. It turns out that this building isn't entirely a tourist attraction. At least 30 to 40% of its space is a real library. There's a children's reading area on the first floor. As you go up, you find books sorted by category: history, literature, science, and art. The collection isn't as big as a university library, but for a community library, pretty decent. The reading area is like a factory place, too modest as a library reading room, but it's functional. Probably they used out their budget in hiring the architect for the seashell-shaped lobby and ran out of money to hire an interior designer to make reading areas more comfortable. Anyway, the basic facilities are there. The borrowing system is convenient. Scan your ID, get a library card instantly. Tap a few buttons on the machine, search, borrow, return. No human staff needed. In conclusion, I initially thought this library was just another viral photo spot, but it turned out it actually functions as a library, though it does so pretty quietly, tucked away in the building's corners. So here's the surprise. On the second floor, there's an exhibition hall hosting a Century of Chinese Books exhibition. From 1900 to 2000, representative books from each year have been curated into a kind of time tunnel. You can see Enlightenment literature from the late Qing dynasty, literary classics from the Republican China area, construction manuals from the 1950s, bestsellers from the Reform and Opening Up period since the 1980s. This exhibition is of a really high standard, and it suddenly made me look at this library with a new perspective and with new respect. So it does remember it's a library, not just a giant selfie backdrop. Those people taking photos in the atrium might wander upstairs and flip through an actual book. Nevertheless, from this angle, this viral library doesn't seem quite so white elephant after all. Take another look at the library from outside in the main corridor. I was worried earlier that all those books on the upper level might collapse the building. Turns out I was worried for nothing. The structure is actually two tall towers connected by walkways at the top. Those book walls just for decoration, no wonder. The real book collection is hidden in the back of the building on very solid column structures. But still I got the impression that the design philosophy is hide everything that's actually useful. I also discovered this massive library indeed is part of a gigantic cultural center which has quite a few other facilities. There's an art museum at the end of the corridor. This sculpture is good, but the exhibition inside doesn't quite match the investment. Classic case of all facade, no substance. But at least there's an art museum, and given time, probably there'll be better exhibitions in the future. Under the same roof, there's also a science and technology museum with more interesting exhibitions. Staff members are even live streaming at the entrance to attract online visitors. In this era, if you are not live streaming, you don't exist. There's a performing arts center. It has multiple theaters and concert halls. It's just the middle of the week and around lunchtime, so dead silent inside. But the posters show they do stage classic plays and concerts. Whether there will be enough audience in this out-of-city new area, and that will be a different question. Oh, and the English translation on the posters, absolutely hilarious. Chinese-style world-famous music concert, but I think they meant Chinese and international classical music concert. But here is the thing. The people responsible for signage in China are the most creative users of English. If you are interested, I can make a whole video about it. From the outside, this cultural center does have a certain Manhattan vibe. Distant buildings trying to create that modern metropolis atmosphere. But the parking lot looks like that of a wholesale market. This contrast is actually quite amusing, kind of like the building itself, flashy on the outside and on the inside, well, you be the judge. This place is a bit far from the old Tianjin city. It's a newly built cultural facility for Binhai new area, a seaside, newly developed district of the city. And this is where the story gets interesting. See, this library is part of a bigger pattern. China has built hundreds of mega projects like this across the country. Massive cultural centers, museums, stadiums, hospitals. But whether they actually get best used, well, that's secondary for the moment. Sound familiar? It should. In 2025, President Trump announced plans to build a massive Triumphal Arch in Washington, D.C. to celebrate America's 250th birthday. The estimated costs tens of millions of dollars. The purpose, to honor American greatness. Now you tell me, how is that different from a library with fake books? The only real difference, one has fake books inside, the other has imitation facade outside. Alright, well, I might be a little bit cynical, so let's just stop here. Back to our original question. Is this library a white elephant project? My answer is yes and no. But here's the bigger question. Should we judge government projects the same way we judge private investments? The Sydney Opera House was called a white elephant when it was built. Way over budget, years behind schedule. Now it's a national icon, brings in millions of tourists every year. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Trump's Washington Triumphal Arch. Will it become a beloved national monument or a punchline about government waste? Different countries, different political systems, same fundamental problem. How do you evaluate a project whose value might not show up for decades? This library in Tianjin is a photo spot. It is also a real library. It's a white elephant. It's also a bet on the future. The truth is, it can be all of these things at once. And maybe that's the point. Government projects are messy. They serve multiple purposes, some practical, some symbolic. We want them to be efficient, but we also want them to be inspiring. We want them to serve the public, but we also want them to make us proud. If you enjoy this deep dive into China's unique architecture and the fascinating world of government mega projects, let me know in the comments. Should I do more videos about China's culture and art facilities since I'm an artist and a writer? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Building a link between this library in Tianjin to President Trump's construction project is meant for discussion. There's no real connection. But this city of Tianjin in China does have a real link with American presidency. Check out my earlier video about Herbert Hoover, the 31st President of the United States. He worked in Tianjin as a young man, made his first fortune here, and left behind a story that most people have never heard. It's a fascinating piece of history that bridges two countries. Click the link on the screen and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.